Come with this.
Jake's trying to become a boxer, and I respect it. I think that's probably one of the hardest styles to perfect. You know, hit, be slick, not get hit, look for that knockout punch, and he's taking the hard road doing it that way. I'm maybe 17, 18 years as a fighter now. That's been trying to perfect my boxing skills, so he's gonna come against someone who's been doing exactly what he's doing for a lot longer. If I can break his soul and I can break his mentality, then I've broken Jake. So this is why it's going to be an interesting fight, because I just don't look at it from a physical standpoint. I know the person that's in front of me, and I know that I got to break his soul.
Yeah, look, I see, obviously he's an amazing fighter, but styles make fights. And I think simply the way that our styles match up and what I know I can do to him and the shots that I know I can land on him, I know that I'm going to be able to go in there and shock the world.
Don't let me down, don't let me down.
He's taken away his best thing against me, which is his power. And we've seen him when he's a little bit lighter and there's just not as much thump on the punches. And I think that's probably the best thing he could have had, is that extra oomph in those punches. But it's his game plan, whatever he wants. But to me, the weight doesn't matter. The weight's not going to make a difference. It's going to be the skills that win this fight. And I believe my skills are better than his, which is a crazy thing to say, but he's a very basic fighter and he's gotten to where he's at because of the size and because of the power. So the skills are what's going to win this fight, and you've seen that with Usyk when he fought him, and so I believe it's going to be very similar to that.
And now I teamed up with Team Usyk to improve my skills as well, so we got
As you should. You definitely needed to change coaches.
And we got skills as well.
You definitely needed to change coaches.
Both fighters went face-to-face, claiming they'll win, and Jake pushed a clear angle. This won't be about size or punch power. It'll come down to who's cleaner and smarter in the ring. AJ didn't bite on the talk. He kept it simple and firm, signaling he's upgraded his boxing IQ through elite training links, making the stare-down feel like a real skill test, not a slugfest. The face-to-face got more intense when AJ stopped talking about skills and started talking about doing real damage. He stated, "I have to go in there, stomp all over him, inflict pain, and land that right hand that he says is my only weapon." It doesn't feel like a debate anymore. It feels like a warning. The energy shifts fast because AJ isn't selling a points win. He's selling a moment that ends the night. That's where the suspense kicks in. If Jake is expecting a technical chess match, AJ is hinting it could turn into something much rougher. You can picture the early rounds getting tense with Jake trying to stay safe and smart while AJ looks for one clean chance to make a statement. And once that first heavy shot lands, everything changes. Confidence, rhythm, even the game plan. Now, the question is simple. Can Jake handle the heat when the fight turns into pressure and pain? AJ isn't mocking Jake here. He's giving him credit for choosing the toughest path, then raising the stakes by reminding everyone he's spent years living that same life.
He's trying to become a boxer, and I respect it. I think that's probably one of the hardest styles to perfect. You know, hit, be slick, not get hit, look for that knockout punch, and he's taking the hard road doing it that way. I'm maybe 17, 18 years as a fighter now. That's been trying to perfect my boxing skills, so he's going to come against someone who's been doing exactly what he's doing for a lot longer. If I can break his soul and I can break his mentality, then I've broken Jake. So this is why it's going to be an interesting fight, because I just don't look at it from a physical standpoint. I know the person that's in front of me, and I know that.
It's basically saying the real battle won't just be in the hands or the feet. It'll be in the head. He's talking about dragging Jake into deep water where experience matters and panic shows. That's what makes the matchup scary, because confidence can disappear fast once the punches start landing clean. You can almost imagine the moment Jake realizes this isn't a highlight reel fight anymore. If AJ controls that mental space early, the fight could turn cold and cruel. And that's where the suspense sits. Can Jake stay calm when AJ tries to break him from the inside out? Jake doesn't deny AJ's level, but he quickly pivots to the one thing he keeps leaning on, matchups, and paints this as a fight where his style creates openings.
Yeah, look, I see, obviously he's an amazing fighter, but styles make fights, and I think simply the way that our styles match up and what I know I can do to him and the shots that I know I can land on him, I know that I'm going to be able to go in.
He's basically selling the idea that this isn't about who has the bigger name. It's about who shows up with the right answers. That's where the suspense kicks in, because if he's reading AJ correctly, the early rounds could get dangerous fast. You can picture AJ trying to impose control while Jake looks for one clean moment to flip the entire story. And once the crowd senses that something could happen, every exchange feels heavier. The scary part is how quickly belief can spread in a fight. One sharp connection and suddenly impossible starts looking real. Now it's down to whether Jake can actually deliver when the lights are brightest and the risk is highest. Paulie Malignaggi basically shuts the door on Jake's chances, then explains the only possible path would be a risky fast start plan built around one big moment.
Realistically, does Jake Paul have a chance? I think it's slim and none. But if we're gonna go with how Jake Paul would accomplish this, my personal feeling is he would have to kind of kamikaze it, where he's either gonna come out, he's got to probably come out fast and try to shoot some big shots, maybe, you know, try to set a trap with a jab downstairs, big right hand upstairs, you know, I don't know, something like that, because AJ's a big guy and, you know, he kind of stands up high at times. But either way, no matter what trap he says, there's got to be a simple trap, because Jake's boxing isn't that high level yet. He'd have to start fast and throw hard. And again, it would have to be, the reason I say it would have to be sort of kamikaze-ish is because he's got to land the big shot. He's got to take a big chance and land the big shot. In order to do that, he's got...
Paulie Malignaggi's angle is that waiting around only makes AJ more comfortable and more dangerous. So Jake would need to force chaos before AJ settles in. But that kind of start demands perfect timing, because one wrong step and the counter comes back brutal. It's not about being brave for a second. It's about committing when every instinct says back off. That's why the scenario feels tense, because the chance he describes is also the quickest way for everything to go wrong. Paulie Malignaggi points to a specific pattern from AJ's past and suggests that if Jake wants any hope, he'd need the nerve to trade at the same time AJ is firing.
And fired. Now, what I've noticed when AJ gets caught in his times that he's been hurt as a professional fighter is he's been hurt when guys throw with him. You got to be able to throw power with him as he's throwing. So that takes a certain amount of guts, because obviously when he's throwing the power at you, he could hit you and you could go, right? And Jake is smaller than AJ. At this point, this is not a typical Jake opponent where they're a bit smaller. You know, the deck is not stacked against AJ. AJ's actually probably stacking the deck over Jake. The only thing AJ really has to do is make 245 pounds just to make that weight, which I think he probably makes it, you know, maybe.
The whole fight starts sounding like a courage test more than a skill test. To trade with AJ, you're agreeing to stand in front of danger and still throw. And Paulie Malignaggi is basically saying the opening exists only for someone willing to take a hit to land one. That's what raises the suspense. Jake would have to do something he hasn't had to do at this level. And since AJ is the bigger man, every exchange has heavier consequences. So the question becomes whether Jake can step into the fire when it gets real, or if he'll look for safety the moment the pressure comes back. Paulie Malignaggi breaks down the biggest doubt around Jake. When pressure comes back at him, he doesn't stay planted long enough to trade.
You punch with AJ, what happens? You may be able to catch him. Guys like Dillian White have caught AJ and rocked him badly when they fought each other. So you punch with AJ, you may be able to catch him. But the thing about Jake is he capable of punching with you? Anytime I've seen the opposing fighter attack Jake with any kind of offense, any kind of punching, from Chavez Jr. to Tyson, anybody, Jake doesn't hold his ground. So therefore, how are you going to punch with somebody if you don't hold your ground? You got to slip and rip from where you are.
It turns into a harsh reality check about habits under stress. It's easy to say you'll stand your ground when the room is calm, but when punches are flying, your body chooses instinct before confidence. Paulie Malignaggi frames it like AJ will force that decision early, and there's nowhere to hide from it. If Jake steps out every time, the threat disappears, and AJ starts taking control, walking him down and breaking his rhythm. So, the suspense sits on that one moment. Does Jake finally stay there and fire back, or does he give AJ the fight by default? Paulie Malignaggi lays it out like a trade-off. Jake's best chance comes from exchanging hard with AJ, even though that same choice can get him knocked out faster.
He punches with AJ. If he's able to do that, that gives him his best chance to land a big punch. Because if you punch with him, you basically punch hard. You throw as hard as you can at him. And maybe you'll catch him over the top of something he's throwing. Obviously, why is this a risk? This is also a risk because in the process, you could get caught and knocked out, which is why I call it sort of a kamikaze-ish type of mission. Because, you know, you could get stopped in the process much sooner. Because I'm also one of the opinion to think that maybe Jake goes a little longer than people think because maybe he just runs for his life. And is that a good look? To the casuals, maybe it's a good look because they don't know the difference anyway. As long as the more rounds Jake is going, they don't know that he's not trying. He may just run for his life. He may go 3-4 rounds. But if Jake tries to win, it gives him his best chance to win, obviously. Jake has to try to win. And for him to try to win, he's got to take those chances. He's got to hold his ground, fire with AJ, and throw those punches. Which means it could lead to either him hurting AJ or AJ knocking him out even sooner. So it could go bad, but it's your only chance of winning if I have to consider Jake Paul's chances of beating Anthony Joshua. He has to punch with him, and in that regard, in order to do that, he's got to put himself in the lion's den, in the fire, in the position where he may get hit in the process by the short part.
This feels like the fight splits into two different movies. One version is Jake surviving by moving and avoiding danger, but never really changing the story. The other version is Jake taking the sharpest risk possible to create a shock moment. And Paulie Malignaggi makes it sound like winning would require stepping into the worst place on purpose. That's where the thrill comes in because one clean exchange could either flip everything or end everything, and there's no reset once that choice is made. Either Jake lands the statement shot or AJ lands the shutdown shot. Price Taylor flips the usual criticism on its head and argues that Jake has already earned the right to be taken seriously because he's built a real fight resume. And if this drags into the middle rounds, who starts to fade first, Jake's movement or AJ's patience? Drop your prediction in the comments below. Who do you have winning, and how does it happen? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in for more Fight Week videos like